In the shadow of the mountains, the world's most modern artillery was silenced by the most unlikely machine, a humble bicycle. Stripped of their seats and pedals, these were no longer toys, but heavy-duty steel beasts capable of carrying 300 kilograms through paths where no truck could pass and no plane could land. A silent army began its impossible ascent. Every mile was a battle against gravity, every step a testament to a willpower that no modern military could calculate. Under the cover of darkness and rain, the supply line breathed, moving thousands of tons of rice and shells undetected. The European generals believed the terrain was their greatest ally, certain that no army could be fed in such a wilderness. Improvised wooden brakes smoked under the friction, as porters guided half a ton of weight down treacherous slippery slopes. Hidden beneath layers of branches, the steel ants were invisible to the bombers, circling high above in the clouds. It wasn't just metal and rubber. It was the raw strength of a nation, moving on its own 2 feet. As the first shells arrived on the backs of bicycles, the fate of the modern fortress was already sealed. One slip meant losing not just a life, but the vital supplies that an entire battalion was waiting for. When the bridges were bombed, the bicycles went onto the shoulders, crossing icy currents that the French tanks couldn't even touch. Repair shops were hidden in caves where old tires were reborn as patches, keeping the steel horses moving forward. They walked in their sleep, filled by a determination that defied the basic biological need for rest and food. The colonial Air Force searched for trucks and supply depots, never suspecting the forest was alive. With thousands of bicycles, silent signals moved the column, a synchronized dance of man and machine that left no trace for the enemy scouts. The mud was a swamp that swallowed wheels whole, requiring 3 men to push a single bike through the muck today. By the time the sun rose, the steel ants had vanished, hiding under the canopy until the safety of darkness returned. Inside the fortress, the modern army was starving, unable to comprehend how their enemy remained so well fed and well armed. This was the ultimate irony. The very shells that would destroy the French fortress arrived on the back of a bike. The final climb wasn't measured in miles, but in every agonizing inch, one against the vertical walls of the valley. Hidden in caves that the French bombers could never find, the artillery pieces were finally fed by the steel ants. While the colonial supply lines were severed in the sky, the bicycle trail remained an unbreakable artery on the ground. The French believed it was impossible to bring heavy guns to the heights. They were wrong. The first shells began to fall. He was a farmer, not a soldier, but his bicycle had done more damage to the empire than 1,000 bombers. Maintenance was a religion. A broken chain meant a broken army. Every nut and bolt was tightened with life and death precision. The rain tried to wash the mountain away, but the porters dug their toes into the clay and refused to move. Records were shattered daily. What began as an experiment became a miracle of human engineering and pure, unyielding stubbornness. Today, an army of shadows fueled by rice and determination had effectively surrounded the most modern fortress in Southeast Asia. Tonight, the map didn't lie. The modern army was being strangled by a supply line that they didn't even recognize as warfare. High-altitude drops were failing. The wind and the jungle were now allies of the porters, swallowing the French supplies whole. Inside the trenches, the hunger was a physical weight. A modern army was starving, while the steel ants kept the hills fed. For every bicycle that broke under the weight, 2 more took its place. The supply line was a living, breathing machine. The silence that followed the surrender was a testament to the power of a logistics system that no one believed could exist. He had pushed 300 kilograms for 500 miles. The war was won on the strength of his legs alone. Military analysts would spend decades studying this moment, trying to quantify the value of a bicycle in a world of jets. The trail became a legend, a ghost road, that proved that nature and willpower could dismantle the most advanced military technology. He finally saw the enemy's heavy transport. Not trucks, not planes, but a simple machine pushed by a man who wouldn't quit. Victory didn't come in a flash of fire, but in the slow, agonizing grind of rubber and steel against the mountain. This was the beginning of a new era of warfare, where the most humble tool became the most lethal weapon on Earth. In the war rooms of the West, the data didn't make sense. A modern empire had been dismantled by a tool from the previous century. The math of warfare was rewritten overnight. Technology was no longer a guarantee of victory if the enemy possessed superior endurance and ingenuity. The era of industrial arrogance ended in the mud of the valley, replaced by a haunting respect for the invisible supply line. Future commanders began to study the steel ants, realizing that in asymmetrical warfare, the simplest solution is often the most lethal. The image of the bicycle porter became a symbol of national survival, a machine of war powered by the human heart. The victory at Dien Bien Phu was just the beginning. The humble bicycle was about to embark on an even longer journey. The Ho Chi Minh Trail became a 1,000-mile artery, kept alive by the steady, unyielding rotation of 2 wheels and a pair of legs, while jet engines roared in the clouds. The silent convoys on the ground moved undetected, hidden by the very shadows of the forest. Innovation was born of necessity. A broken part was never the end. The path was long, the burden was heavy. But the bicycle had become more than a machine. It was a promise of survival. But the sensors were looking for trucks. They were deaf to the silent, steady rotation of a bicycle wheel, passing inches away. The Americans spent billions on Operation Igloo White, dropping thousands of acoustic sensors to detect the sound of enemy engines. Orders used simple decoys to fool the billion-dollar computers, leading the bombers to strike empty patches of jungle. Instead, millions of tons of bombs fell on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, but the bicycle convoys never stopped moving. By the end of the war, the bicycle had proven to be the most resilient logistics platform in military history. U.S. intelligence reports began to highlight the bicycle logistics as the primary reason why their air superiority was failing to stop the flow of supplies. General Giap famously stated that the bicycle was more important than the tank in the mountains of Vietnam, a truth the world was beginning to accept. Today, these reinforced bicycles sit in museums, silent witnesses to a time when humans sweat, and the image of the bicycle porter became a symbol of national survival, a machine of war powered by the unbreakable human heart. Tonight, in the end, the most advanced army was defeated, not by a superior technology, but by a superior will to endure and innovate. The fuel for this massive logistics machine wasn't gasoline, but a simple bowl of rice and an unyielding dream of independence. They walked where the roads didn't exist, carving a path through the wilderness with nothing but their own 2 feet. Today, in the mountains of Southeast Asia, the most advanced transport of the 20th century was effectively outpaced by a Victorian-era invention. The forest became a living, breathing fortress shielding the steel ants as they carried the weight of a nation. Tonight, it was a masterpiece of decentralized logistics, a system that could not be decapitated by a single strike or a million bombs. Military academies around the world still teach this lesson. Never underestimate an enemy with a simple tool and a reason to fight. Nature has reclaimed the mountains, but the echo of the clicking bicycle chains still lingers in the misty morning air today. Nature has reclaimed the mountains, but the echo of the clicking bicycle chains still lingers in the misty morning air today. Was it the machine or the man? In the end, the bicycle was only as strong as the heart that pushed it. Even in an age of drones and satellites, the story of the bicycle porter remains a haunting reminder of human resilience tonight. They moved in silence, they won in shadows, and they changed the course of military history with every turn of a wheel. Which historical underdog story should we explore next? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read everyone. The empire fell, the jungle remained, and the legend was. Thank you for joining us today. Subscribe for more deep dives into the shadows of history and the power of the human spirit. End of transmission. Stay curious.